time. Which is the only team to reach the Super Bowl in the season after losing 12 or more games? You're the only one standing here.
Patriots.
Patriots is wrong. The correct answer is the 1999 Rams, the greatest show on
turf. We said the Rams.
You didn't say the Rams when it mattered, I'll tell you that. They went 4-12 and won the Super Bowl the next year with Kurt Warner. I want you to know these guys were looking up the answer and still didn't get it right. They did it once. These San Francisco 49ers this year might be the second team to do it. If you didn't watch last night, let me show you what you missed. Jimmy Garoppolo was terrific, and Emmanuel Sanders is a big part of the reason why. What an acquisition he's been.
Look, he's dynamite, Greeny. Look, he's an inside-outside player. He can play the slot, he can play the X, the Z, the flanker, the split end. And he's just so quick after the catch, and that's tailor-made for their offense.
Later, and this is the same drive here, the Niners in the scoring area, that's Kendrick Bourne.
Look, that's just a laser. You knew right away early in this game that Jimmy was feeling it.
I love the name Kendrick Bourne. Then he finds Sanders again for another touchdown here. This one coming after Cliff Kingsbury had called a defensive timeout that gave the 49ers an extra try. Third quarter, it's 21-14. Dante Pettis does the thriller dance.
Did you see how early he threw that ball? I mean, that's when you knew Jimmy was like, this is my night tonight.
So he threw 4 touchdowns, but then maybe even more important than those, late in this game when they had the lead and they needed to run out the clock, he made play after play. He would throw 4 touchdowns. Sanders would catch 7 balls for 112 yards and one of those scores. And the 49ers remain unbeaten. Their last 3 games have shown why they are very dangerous indeed. Defense led the way against Washington. It was a shutout on a very sloppy, rainy day. Last week against Carolina, they ran the ball 200 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. And then last night, Garoppolo throwing it all over the place. So if they can beat you any way you want to play, the 49ers are a team to ignore at your own peril. Meanwhile, let's look ahead to this weekend and talk about the other unbeaten team. Patriots getting their biggest test of the year Sunday night against the Ravens. Tom Brady looking to lead the Pats to their third 9-0 start. Peyton Manning, the only player in the Super Bowl era to lead that many 9-0 starts at the quarterback position. Their defense really has been the main reason for New England's start this year. The only team since 1970 in the merger to lead the league in points allowed, takeaways, and sacks through Week 8. Now they go up against Lamar Jackson, who will have his hands full. He has rushed for 100 yards in back-to-back weeks, but no quarterback has ever rushed for 100 yards against an 8-0 team. Or even better, no quarterback has rushed for 90, 80, or even 70 yards against an 8-0 team. So the real question as we look ahead to the Sunday night game is, will Lamar Jackson be able to run the ball against Bill Belichick's defense? You're going to give us the answer.
Well, Lamar Jackson's the most explosive quarterback in the NFL, bar none. And the pass defense is really good, but one of the things they struggle with is when the quarterback does get out and scramble, they're giving up over 8 yards of scramble. Let's take a look at the tape here. Lamar Jackson, identified. The Bengals are in man coverage, so that means when he drops back, there's not going to be any eyes back on him. Going to sit back in the pocket, 3rd and 14, looks down the field, steps up, sees a rush lane, nobody there. Watch the speed and acceleration of him take it down the field on a 3rd and 14, pick up the first down. So very talented. Look at the Pats now, defense bringing 5, trying to fill the rush lanes up against Josh Allen. Their defenders playing a zone match coverage underneath. Eyes are outside on the receivers. They're dropping back, trying to fill up all the rush lanes. They leave one open for Josh Allen. He's going to see it. He's going to step up, and he's going to be able to convert the first down. Josh Allen is able to do this. He's tall, he's athletic, but he's not near the athlete than Lamar Jackson. If Lamar gets that, that's not a 12-yard pickup, Greeny. That's 25, and those big chunk plays could be the difference of keeping Baltimore in this game.
So you played for Bill Belichick, sure. Lewis, so you know him as well as anybody. The one thing he's not going to let you do is beat him with your biggest strength. So what does he do to combat Lamar Jackson's running the football?
Look, with guys like this, I mean, there's a reason why Lamar is transcended as far as quarterbacks is concerned, because I don't know if there's necessarily something that you can do schematically that can negate his unique playmaking ability. But the one thing Bill will rely on is this. He brings a certain kind of player into his defense, meaning the kind of guys who are just mentally very resilient and can carry out what he tells them to do for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, however long it takes. Shutting down the run is about fits. It's about rush lane discipline. It's about gap fits. It's about staying square. It's about playing great team defense. That's really the only thing I can tell you is about what are they going to. They're not going to put a spy on him. There's not going to be one guy who's going to chase Lamar down. They don't have a guy like that. No team in the NFL does. Bobby Wagner couldn't do it. No one can do it. Okay, it's going to be about team defense. You know Bill will drum into their guys' heads this week the cerebral part of the game. And if you know what, Lamar's going to make a few. You know he's going to gut loose, and he's going to make a few. But I think over the long haul, they're going to rely on their football intelligence and playing gap sound football.
And Sanchez, I want to ask you about the Patriots offense, because they really haven't had a game this year that they've needed the offense to play big in order to win. This may be that week. What are you seeing in their offense?
It's really a complementary offense. They get a short field a lot of the times, and a lot of the times the defense is doing the scoring for them. That's how good this defense is. It's not as sexy as the 50 touchdown Randy Moss and Tom Brady connection, but they're so efficient. And like we've seen before, the best ones just figure out a way to win, and that's what Tom Brady does.
And the reason why they're playing offense like that is so they control the football. You have a really good defense. Yeah. Don't put them on the field more. They're third in the NFL in time of possession. It may not always be pretty. It may not be big plays. Complementary football, keeping that defense rested.
No, think about what we just said here. I mean, the 49ers can beat you almost any way they want to. You want to play them and they're unbeaten. The Patriots can probably beat you almost any way you want to play them, and they're unbeaten. We'll see if they get a different kind of test on Sunday night. We'll have a lot more on this Football Friday as we go, but in the meantime, let me run the floor. A little basketball here. Jay Williams, let's go. Let's take you around the NBA last night. Kawhi Leonard, 38 points, 12 rebounds against his former team in the Spurs. What are you seeing in Kawhi right now?
Oh, I'm seeing Kawhi actually do a better job of passing. Didn't have a great assist last night, but has 30 so far for the season. That's 15%, Grinny, of the total he had last year in only 5 games.
And he had a pretty good relationship with Popovich, at least as far as this night was concerned. They exchanged a nice moment. We know about the history there.
That's also why he had 32 shot attempts. That's his career high. He was trying to, it's a quiet fire that Kawhi has burning within all
There's
time.
that nice moment between the two of them there. We all know about the history that wasn't always so pretty. All right, Michael Porter Jr. scored his first basket as an NBA player after a long road returning from injury. What kind of player can this guy be?
This guy can be a franchise-type player. 15 points, but a couple years ago, we were talking about him being the first pick taken in the draft before he had that back injury. Will Barton was out the other day. He finally got a chance to crack the rotation.
Obviously, for a Denver team that sort of drafted him and figured it might take a little time, if he can reach his peak, he's a very dangerous guy. And then finally, Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns each suspended 2 games for their actions in Wednesday night's fight. What did you think of the suspensions that were handed down?
I was okay with it. And as it relates to Ben Simmons not getting anything, I see the NBA judging intent, not optics. He's known Karl Anthony Towns for a while, held him down to the ground and tried to get him to relax. The next thing I know, Screeny, this says something about Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid's relationship. Reports back in the day, it was a little bit touchy here and there. But the fact as a teammate, if I see my teammate getting into a fight and I don't like you, I don't have to enter it. I can stand there and watch. But the fact that Ben Simmons came to his teammates' help and aid, that goes to show you about where that relationship is and where that can go.
And just very quickly, because they were trying to make the argument, they being the Sixers, that he was playing a peacemaker's role. And I know the Timberwolves did not buy that. And when you see him kind of he's got Karl Anthony Towns in a chokehold, and Cat is kind of tapping out there. Did that look like he was making peace to you?
Well, I mean, look, when you're in an intense situation, you can't come in with a rosary and say, hey, let's name the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? You have to hold a guy like Karl Anthony Towns down who weighs 255 pounds. So Ben Simmons is a bigger guy, but he's not throwing punches. He's just really trying to get him to calm down.
And part of the NBA statement when they said that they handed down the suspensions was that the players continued to escalate following the incident. That, we believe, is in reference to some of the social media stuff that came out from both guys after the game last night. And we talked about that on our show yesterday. What did you think of the way the NBA handled that part of it?
I think it's smart. I think that the NBA is always thinking about what their appeal is to younger kids. That's the demo, Gen Zs, that they want to follow. And this doesn't set a great example for that.
It was fascinating to me. It was such a good discussion we had here. It actually carried over to my house yesterday, talking with my wife and my teenage son about the kind of language. Just, we live in a different world than I grew up in. This kind of language would not have been acceptable in this public of a place as recently as 10 years ago. But I think a lot of that has changed.
But I have to say this, that's on brand with Joel Embiid. That's who Joel Embiid is.
And so the NBA, look, they handed down a 2-game suspension. In the big picture, that's not a very long suspension for what was a pretty significant fight. Meanwhile, you see your old buddy here, meanwhile on planet Earth, JJ Redick, in the Halloween spirit.
Very on brand for JJ.
What'd you think of this?
It's on brand. I love it. That's JJ.
That's JJ Redick. Perhaps you have to take my word for it, but he was in the Halloween spirit yesterday.
And the Pelicans got to win. They got their first win against the Denver Nuggets last night. He should always dress this way.
Yeah, and the coach of the Nuggets, by the way, exploded on his own team afterwards in frustration. But that's JJ Redick. Again, you'll just have to take my word for it. All right, we have a lot more to come on this Friday morning. Kevin Durant getting candid about one of the big reasons behind his departure from Golden State. Jay Will has thoughts on that and much more coming up next. Plus, what has gone so wrong for Mitchell Trubisky in Chicago this year? Is it time for the Bears to move on? You've got questions. We've got answers. You're watching Get Up on ESPN.